I'm having a lot of trouble with Zoom tonight. I can't open my Zoom. I had to use my handphone to get in tonight.
So, yeah, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my obeisance, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, my humble obeisance. Okay, so can we begin?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Like,
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, devotees are quite sobered up. No, I believe so. So they were apologizing. Maybe they would want to like communicate to you directly. Hi, where are you? Kashish Mataji? Maharaj is here.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, pranam.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for switch on your camera. Thank you so much. We are really to having an association. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimurandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksuran Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Recording in progress.
Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so we were on chapter number 17, Divisions of Faith. All right. Now it's very much connected to chapter 16. Because at the end of chapter 16, Lord Krishna had given that verse. Maybe you remember. It's an important verse which you should know. Right? Text number 23. Ya Shastra Vidim Utsrijya Vartate Kamakarata Na Sasadim Mavapnoti Na Sukham Na Paramgatim. Right? If we don't follow the Shastra Vidi, the regulation of the scriptures, then the result will be we will not get perfection, we will not get happiness, and we will not achieve the supreme destination. So that's very serious. If we're not going to get perfection or happiness or the supreme destination, then we should be very worried about it. And we should want to follow the scriptural injunctions. And then in the final verse, then Lord Krishna said, we should understand what is duty and what is not duty by following the scriptures. In following the rules and regulations, we should act so that we can gradually be elevated. So that's the key, the importance of following scriptures is there. So then Arjuna asks a question at the beginning of 17th chapter, and his question is very interesting. He said, what about those who do not follow the principles of scripture, but worship according to their own imagination? But not, in other words, they worship, they have faith in something. So, are they in goodness, or are they in passion, or are they in ignorance? Right? So this is the question of Arjuna. He wants to know, what about people? They have faith, but they don't follow any scriptures. Their faith is not in any shastra. It's just their own their own belief. They have their own beliefs. And there's a lot of people like that. And we were discussing a little bit different, a lot of people have different beliefs, and a lot of the beliefs are just coming from some imagination. People come up with something. There's this one man in South India, he's very popular, and he says he doesn't follow any scripture. He doesn't follow, he said, I've realized everything myself. It's all from himself. And he's famous around the world. He's got so many followers. And he's talking so much nonsense. Anyway, this is a common thing. In Kali Yuga, we get this kind of situation. So Lord Krishna then explains, beginning in text number 2, that people's faith can be of 3 kinds, right? What are the 3 kinds of faith?
Goodness, yes, passion, and ignorance.
Yes, right. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. That's right. So somebody's faith is in goodness, somebody's faith is in passion, and someone's in ignorance. So we were discussing this last night, different religious systems which are there, and how people have these different beliefs. And it's important for us to recognize that, how people are influenced by the modes of nature. It's mentioned there in the verse, Trivida bhavati shraddha. Trivida bhavati shraddha. Shraddha meaning faith, and Trivida, 3 kinds. So faith is of 3 kinds, and the 3 modes of nature. That's the 3 different kinds of faith. Faith is influenced by the material energy. That's why association is so important. The association with devotees is very crucial for our spiritual progress. Without association, very difficult to get free of the modes of nature. You need somebody who's not in the modes of nature, who's transcended the material nature, to free us, to pull us out of the material nature. So this is important. And then Lord Krishna goes on and explains about people's existence under the different modes of nature. According to the modes of nature, they have that kind of faith. Now, of course, as devotees, we want to transcend the modes of nature. Of course, we have to have faith. Faith is the beginning of the process of devotional service, right? Adau Shraddha. Adau Shraddha tata sadhu sango bhavana kriya anartam nivritti. Like that, Rupa Goswami described the different stages of faith, beginning with the different stages of devotion, beginning with faith, Shraddha. In the beginning, actually some people say before faith you have to have sadhu sangha, because you can't have that faith without sadhu sangha. You get that faith by having sadhu sangha. Just like myself, I came to Krishna consciousness, I was impressed with the devotees, the people I met. They inspired, I thought, wow, they're amazing. They have so much faith. They had so much faith. There was, for example, there was one French woman, and she was the pujari in the London Centre. And she was taking care of the deities, Radha, London, Ishwara. Later on, they were named by Srila Prabhupada like that. And she had so much faith in Srila Prabhupada. And she was always talking to me about Prabhupada, and you know, I'd read Prabhupada's books, but you know, I didn't have a lot of faith in him, but she had so much faith. And then I met other devotees like that, who'd been with Prabhupada from the beginning. They'd been with people like Mukunda, who had met Prabhupada in New York and then went to San Francisco, and then Shyam Sundar and Gurudas and Yamuna, and like that. You know, they're amazing people, and they all had so much faith. So I was inspired by their faith, and it gave me faith also, because I saw how much faith they had. So association is so important. And Prabhupada in the purport, he writes that this word faith originally comes out of the mode of goodness. So we want to develop that faith in the mode of goodness. But what happens is our faith gets covered, we get mixed with the lower modes, and people who are not in pure goodness, and we get affected by the lower modes of nature. So our faith becomes covered, our faith becomes contaminated, becomes faith in ignorance and passion. So it's important for us to cultivate the mode of goodness. That's it, the point. If we have that mode of goodness, then it's so much easier. So then Lord Krishna goes on to describe about different kinds of worship, how they're in different modes of nature, like in text number 4, and he talks about people in the mode of goodness will worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion will worship the demons, and those in ignorance, they'll worship ghosts and spirits. So you can see how the modes of nature is reflected through the type of worship which they're doing. In the mode of goodness, they'll worship the demigod. Now, usually we say worshipping demigods in the mode of ignorance, because they're worshipping to get things which are temporary and limited. And so in a sense, worship of demigods is foolish. But still, in comparison to other kinds of worship, like if you worship the demons and worship ghosts and spirits, there's a big difference. You know, the type of worship which they do compared to the worship of the demigods. It's but much more in the mode of goodness. And then the purport Prabhupada writes, he says that we recall that during the Second World War, a man in Calcutta worshipped Hitler because thanks to that war, he had amassed a large amount of wealth by dealing in the black market. So those in the modes of passion and ignorance generally, they will worship a powerful man to be God. So this is how the modes of nature reflect the kind of worship. And then Prabhupada talks about the mode of ignorance, worshipping spirits and ghosts. In villages, especially in India, they're worshippers of ghosts. And Prabhupada said, we have seen that in India, lower class people sometimes go to the forest. And if they have knowledge that a ghost lives in a tree, they will worship that tree and offer sacrifices. So this is a common thing. In different kinds of worship are not actually God worship. But if a man is in pure goodness, he will worship Vasudeva or Vishnu, the Supreme Lord. And then Lord Krishna then goes on to speak about different kinds of austerities and penances that is also influenced by the modes of nature. We may think, oh, somebody's very austere, but their austerity can be in the mode of ignorance. And often it's in the mode of passion. They do it out of pride and egoism. As Lord Krishna said, they perform austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride and egoism. And they're impelled by lust and attachment. And they're foolish and they torture the body. Just like one country where I travel is Malaysia. And in Malaysia every year, at about this time of the year, they will worship Lord Murugan. They will worship Lord Murugan, one of the sun Kartikeya. He's called Murugan in South India, but Kartikeya in North India. And so they will, people will bring, they'll bring some milk to offer to the deity of Lord Murugan. But at the same time, they'll stick all kinds of things into their body. They'll stick hooks into their body, and they'll put things through their cheek. They'll put a long metal rod right through in one cheek, out the other cheek. And some people will walk on nails of shoes with nails on them. They'll do all these things to, as a way of austerity and penance. But that kind of worship which tortures the body, it's not recommended in the scriptures. We perform austerities which are mentioned in the scriptures, just like we do fasting. But we fast according to the scriptures on Ekadasi. So that's austerity and goodness, the fasting according to the direction of the scriptures. So some people, they do fasting for material purposes. The real purpose of Ekadasi, however, is not just for fasting, but to increase our hearing and chanting, to become more attached to Krishna. So we should note here the different effects of doing austerities and penances. The reasons why they do. We do them out of pride and egoism, impelled by lust and attachment, and people who are foolish and they torture the body. So these are all the reasons why people do these things, not pure motives. So people, then Lord Krishna goes on to talk about food in the different modes of nature. Now this is a very important aspect of devotional service. We as devotees, we're very careful about what we eat, and we should eat food which is ideal. It should be prasadam, right? It should be offered to Krishna. But we should understand that food is also in the different modes of nature. And we should know what kind of food is in each mode. So Lord Krishna says, each person prefers different kinds of food. Some people, they have to eat food which is very hot and spicy. If there's no spices there, they, oh no, I cannot. If it's too plain with no chili and no, then people will say, oh no, I cannot take it. And these people, of course, they often have gastric problems, they have health problems, but they're very addicted to eat very hot and spicy food. It means food in the mode of passion. So food in the modes of nature, not only it's food in the mode of nature, but we will see also charity is also in the modes of nature. Now we like people say, oh, it's good to be charitable, but there's different kinds of charity. Some kinds of charity can be in the mode of passion, and some charity can be in the mode of ignorance. So Lord Krishna is explaining about this here in the 17th chapter. It's very important for us to know how Lord Krishna describes these things. So sacrifice, austerity, and charity, as well as eating, all of these things are explained in the different modes. And we have to recognize what Lord Krishna is saying. So here you can see food in the mode of goodness, text number 8. Food in the mode of goodness means it will increase the duration of life. Now generally everyone wants that. We like to live a longer time. We don't eat to die, we eat to live. So if you eat food in the mode of goodness, you can increase your duration of life. We can also purify our existence. We can give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. So these are 6 different benefits which are there by taking food which is in the mode of goodness. And Lord Krishna goes on to describe what exactly these foods are. Such food in the mode of goodness will be juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. Of course, people may say, no, it didn't please my heart. I wanted a lot of spices. I wanted a lot of oil. People will say like that. But anyway, Lord Krishna is saying like this. He's telling us it should be like that. It should increase our duration of life. We need to eat some fruit, some grains, some vegetables. All of these things are provided by nature. Yeah. We need to eat food which will be satisfying and purify our existence. So purifying our existence, of course, we like to say prasada because prasada means karma-free diet. Nowadays there's a popular movement called veganism, and many vegans are there. They don't like to eat any animal products. They won't even take honey because honey is coming from the bee. And they don't take any dairy products because it's coming from the cow. And like that. So we agree to some extent that we should not exploit the animals. We certainly agree that a lot of cows are not treated very nicely, but we say we have our own cows, you see, and many temples, especially here in India, they have their own Goshala, and they keep their cows, and the cows are protected. And even if the cow's not giving milk, the cows will be kept and looked after and fed nicely and cared for until they leave the body naturally. So the vegan movement, they protest that people are exploiting the animals, taking the milk, and then when there's no milk, then they kill the cow. So we agree that is very sinful. It's very sinful to kill the animals just to get their meat. But we explain that if we're taking care of the cows and protecting the cows will be happy to give their milk. And as in our human bodies actually benefit by drinking milk. Milk actually helps to increase the duration of life. Srila Prabhupada used to say that just by drinking milk, you get pious activities, simply by drinking milk. So milk one of the gifts of the cow. And in return, we must take care of the cow. Cow is one of our mothers, and we need to look after her nicely. So we have to also eat food which will give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Certainly health is important. And people who are vegetarian generally can be healthier than people who are non-veg. So we encourage devotees to preach about these things, that we eat food, our food is food in the mode of goodness, like vegetables and grains, all of these things, they're prepared nicely and tastily. They can give a lot of nourishment and satisfaction. And people generally find that when they come to the temple and they're given some prasadam, they will enjoy it. They will think this food is very nice. They can appreciate the mode of goodness from the food. I remember I was with Srila Prabhupada in Calcutta in 1970s there, and one man came, and the man was telling Prabhupada how the devotees had come and stayed in their house. And Srila Prabhupada was laughing, and the man was saying, yeah. He said, so many of your men, they all came, they all stayed in my house. And Prabhupada could understand how the devotees had been traveling and preaching and like that. And Prabhupada had the man take prasadam at the temple there in Calcutta. And then when the man was eating the prasadam, he was saying, yeah, he said, your prasadam is so nice. He said, it's so satisfying, it's so pleasing. And Prabhupada said, yes. He said, that is the nature of spiritual food. It is prasadam. It has a special spiritual potency. And people So we saw Srila Prabhupada one time in Mumbai. What happened was there was a big famous man from America came. He was a scientist, and he had come to attend one of the conferences which the Bhaktivedanta Institute was having. So he came to meet Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada was preaching to him. And the man was listening. He wasn't very receptive, but, he was listening. And at one point, they brought in a big plate of Mahaprasadam for Srila Prabhupada. And it was a very nice offering. It was a very beautiful Rajbhog offering at the Juhu temple. If you've been to the Juhu temple there in Mumbai, it's very opulent. And when they make the Rajbhog offering, they have many preparations. So they gave the whole plate to Srila Prabhupada, all the Maha. And Prabhupada took the plate and he gave it to the scientist. And he said to the scientist, he said, this is for you. He said, this is for you. And the scientist looked, and he said, okay. And he took the plate and he began to eat. Eggplant, parmesan, and kachori, and chutney, and samosas, and sweet rice, and milk. Oh, so many things, And the scientist, he was eating, and as he was eating, he was hearing Prabhupada. Prabhupada kept preaching to him. And then before, he was just kind of listening. He wasn't very much receptive. But now he was eating prasadam. He became very receptive, and he began to add to Srila Prabhupada's arguments. And he was relishing the prasadam. And you could tell the prasadam was really purifying him. So Prabhupada was showing us, he said, this is how you preach. He said, our secret weapon is prasadam. You give people prasadam and you can change their lives. So this our whole Krishna conscious movement it's a very big part of our preaching program, giving out prasadam. And in India, they have a lot. They do a lot. They do so many meals in the schools because the government are subsidizing also. They want all the school children, they should get a meal at school every day. So the devotees are providing a lot of meals in schools. So it's very nice. More and more people getting prasadam. They're appreciating what is the mode of goodness. Now, if you go on, you need to read the next verse, text number 9. You can read what is food in the mode of passion. So it's described, food in the modes of passion are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning. And so these foods are very dear to those in the mode of passion. And these foods cause distress, misery, and disease. So, take your pick, it doesn't take a lot of intelligence to understand the advantage of food in the mode of goodness. When you read these kind of descriptions, who wants to eat these kind of things? It's something too bitter, too sour, too hot. Oh no, you want something nourishing, tasty, satisfying. So this is food in the mode of passion. And food in the mode of passion means it will bring distress, misery, and disease. Although people like the word passion, they think, oh, passion, very nice, very exciting. But the result of passion, the passion results in misery, distress, problems. So we should be very aware, very afraid of things in the mode of passion. Passionate hairstyle, passionate food. I saw the one restaurant and said, come and taste the passion. Oh, Krishna. Come and then when you get the car, it tells you, sit behind the wheel, feel the passion, or get on the motorbike, feel the passion as you're driving the latest motorbike, two-wheeler, very dangerous and easily crash and injure. But people get attracted to the passion. Then text number 10 describes the mode of ignorance. Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten. Food that is tasteless, decomposed and putrid, and food consisting of remnants and untouchable things, then such foods are dear to those in the mode of darkness. In other words, tamagun. Right? So when you hear these different descriptions, we will want to go more for the mode of goodness. Right? The mode of goodness, increase the duration of life, purify the mind, aid bodily strength. And the mode of ignorance, just the opposite. So Prabhupada in the purport, he tells us about what kinds of things are good for health. Foods that best aid health and increase life's duration, such as milk products, sugar, rice, wheat, fruits, and vegetables. These foods are very dear to those in the mode of goodness. And then he talks about some things like baked corn and molasses can be made pleasant when mixed with milk or other foods. They are then in the mode of goodness. All these foods are pure by nature. They're quite distinct from things like meat and alcohol.
Maharaj, I was reminded of something. Just going back to the modes of passion.
Yeah.
in classical English, as I understand, Maharaj, the word passion also means suffering. I remember this very famous movie that came out, I think 10 years ago, The Passion of Christ. Everybody thought, oh, that must be showing the passionate life of Christ. But the name of the movie actually means the suffering of Christ. So then, like, the passion actually, if I remember, if I understand correctly, passion also refers to suffering in classical English.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely from Bhagavad Gita, we know that the mode of passion always results in suffering.
Suffering, yes.
So the English language must have taken their meaning from Bhagavad Gita. Anyway, Prabhupada goes on talking fatty foods have no connection with animal fat obtained by slaughter. Animal fat is available in the form of milk, which is the most wonderful of all foods. So Prabhupada is telling us, you know, you have to drink milk. You should drink milk. And he says milk, butter, cheese, and similar products give animal fat in a form which rules out any need for the killing of innocent creatures. Right? We have to take care of the animals. We don't kill them. So the civilized method of obtaining animal fat is by milk. Protein is amply available through split peas, dal, whole wheat, etc. Yeah, people often say, oh, no protein. If you don't eat meat, no protein, you'll get sick. They don't know how to cook. This is a real problem everywhere. We find that when we tell people about being vegetarian, they think they have to eat just rice and green leaves. At least we have this problem in some places, like in China. You know, they think it's an austerity. They don't realize how it can be very luxurious, very satisfying to have a vegetarian diet. But people in general, they just don't know how to cook nice vegetarian dishes. So one of the important programs of Krishna consciousness is teaching people how to cook nice vegetarian dishes and nice meals for themselves and for others, vegetarian meals. And Prabhupada, of course, did that when he first went to America. He was cooking for the devotees and he trained them all how to cook. And we used the Sunday program, my goodness, the wonderful things we would cook. It all came from Prabhupada. Very nice. Nobody complained, you know. Although people were not vegetarian, but when they got the prasadam, they had the Sunday feast, nobody was asking, where's the meat? They were also happy eating nice vegetarian dishes. So then Prabhupada talks of food in the mode of passion. He said, overly mixed with red pepper cause misery by reducing the mucus in the stomach, leading to disease. And food in the mode of ignorance are generally food which is not fresh. Food cooked more than 3 hours before it is eaten. But then Prabhupada said, except prasadam. So prasadam is allowed, but even if it's cooked maybe more than 3 hours, it's allowed. You can still take it. Some things like sweet rice, we would cook it, and we would cook it the day before or 2 days before and let it cool down, because the sweet rice is more relishable when it's cool rather than when it's hot. So some things can be like sweet balls. We could make them a couple of days before and keep them for the Sunday program and then distribute them. Some things can be prepared earlier. not that everything has to be done exactly the same day. So then remnants of food, they can be taken only when they are part of a meal that was first offered to the Supreme Lord or first eaten by saintly persons, especially the spiritual master. So we would all like to get Srila Prabhupada's remnants, and Prabhupada would say, when Prabhupada, after taking his meal, he would instruct the devotee to take his remnants and distribute it. But he would say, mix it all up. Mix up the sweet and the salty and everything, mix it all together. He said, we don't want people being fussy or picky. You know, people come along and say, I want the sweet, give me this and give me that. No. So Prabhupada would instruct everything should be mixed up. And then you just take without considering what you like and what you don't like. Because it's all prasadam, it's maha prasadam, and we don't distinguish it from one thing from another. So then Prabhupada talks how people who are in the mode of ignorance, they like a particular type of food which is very disliked by those who are in the mode of goodness. So different tastes for different people. The best food is the remnants of what is offered to the Supreme Lord. Right? That is prasada. And Prabhupada quotes the Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam. Or earlier it says, the devotees of the Lord are released from all sin because they take food which is offered in sacrifice. So food, yajna shishta, we eat food which is offered in sacrifice. When we offer the food, that is the yajna. And we take the offered food up. First of all, initially it's bhoga. But once it's offered to Krishna, then it becomes prasada, and the karma is removed. So you can see very detailed, elaborate description is given here in the Bhagavad Gita of the three modes of nature and how it affects different foodstuffs and the results of these different food. And we should be very conscious what we eat. Do you have any questions? Anybody has any problem, any doubts about this? Anything to clarify about the modes and how food is affected by the modes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dhanvat Pranams. Maharaj, I have a question regarding which you have mentioned about the association in the modes according to faith. So I really want to be honest with you, Maharaj, regarding this question. Like, my confusion is that when somebody is new in Krishna consciousness, how they can understand the actual level of like the other devotees, like in which mood they are. Because in the beginning, here, like in the beginning, the devotees may show that they are very advanced, and even if they are like, they show us that they are on the stage of a bhava. And newcomer, like the innocent newcomer, easily get influenced by them, and later when they become mature enough, and then they came to the know that, oh, that devotee was not that much advanced according to the modes. So they also, like, the disadvantage is that when a devotee associate or influence, a newcomer influenced by them, they also initially come to that sentimental or a bhava stage. So how a newcomer or how a practicing devotee knows the difference between the proper respect or versus the like a blind surrender, or how a newcomer can choose the safe association? Like in Pakistan, it is very rare to get association like for those who are very like advanced or who have just transcended the modes of nature. So how to choose that, and also how to like understand that like from those who we are influenced them, we consider them as Mahabhagavat, like here in Pakistan, and we use like some kind of flattering lines that oh, without your mercy I cannot do. Even those devotees are not so much advanced. So how to deal with that? So this is my question, Maharaj.
Yes.
It's a question close to everyone's heart.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, every place has its own problems, and certainly I'm sure you have very definite problems there in that particular place. How to deal with it? We definitely want to. It is natural that in the beginning people come in and they think they're coming into the association of pure devotees. You know, that's it. Generally, it's a common thing. I remember Rabindra Swarup Prabhu talking about this. He said that, you know, when the people first come to Krishna consciousness, you know, we're very respectful and we think everyone's a pure devotee, all the people there. And gradually we start to see that, you know, maybe they're not really so advanced. And then gradually, you know, we become sometimes offensive also. But it's nice in the beginning if they do respect people, because then they can make advancement, because they're being respectful, they're being humble, and they're respecting other people. So that helps them to progress. They have faith and like that, you know, they're going to take Krishna consciousness more seriously by being impressed by others. Then they want to practice better. And then gradually they start to see things which are not quite correct. So then they begin to have some doubts and things. Well, we had a case recently. There was another interesting case. You know, they were saying to me something about, you know, someone, a very, very senior man, you know, in age-wise, his bodily age, he was like, you know, something in the 80s, and he was getting married, you know, and you know, and it really shocked devotees, you know. It was definitely not surprising, you know. It's certainly something which, you know, really shouldn't happen, but still these things happen, and it's a shock for the devotees that it tests their faith. And we think, you know, I've come to Krishna consciousness and these kind of things are happening. So we have to see everything in relation to Shastra. We have to be guided by Shastra, and we have to hear from Sadhu and Guru also. And we have to understand the example, the teachings, you know, carefully. Just like when Srila Prabhupada departed from the world, you know, we were very confused. Our whole movement, we were quite confused what to do. We were all young, and Prabhupada had departed, and the movement had to go on. So it took some time for us to actually understand the solution. And of course, the solution was that we have to read Prabhupada's books more, and we have to take shelter of Prabhupada's teachings more, and hear more and more from Srila Prabhupada, and understand what is the actual situation and how to judge everyone, how to see everything. We have to see things through the eyes of Scripture, not just by our sentiment. That is the point, that just simply being sentimental, then we will have problems. We will get issues which will confuse us. So we have to understand properly the teachings of the Shastra and understand the message also of sadhus and guru, what they're saying. Then we can understand properly what is the right association and what is not what is a not so good association. We shouldn't just be sentimental. Just because someone's been in Krishna consciousness a long time doesn't mean that they're advanced. You know, we sometimes think like that. They think, oh, they've been a devotee so long, they must be so advanced, you know. But it doesn't mean that, you know. We have to understand there's more to spiritual advancement than just being around. Just being present, you know. Physical presence doesn't really help you to advance. You have to do more than just being physically present. You have to really hear carefully, and we have to practice seriously and be very careful how we practice. We have to know what are the elements of basic practice in Krishna consciousness, and not get confused. It's not just being around, and it's not just having the color, you know, the saffron robes or these things. These things may look very nice, but it doesn't necessarily mean that one is actually advanced. And you cannot judge a person's spiritual advancement just by his title or just by his dress. We have to look more, not just simply the external features. So this is a mistake. And Prabhupada talks how people think, oh, someone's got long hair and a beard, oh, he must be a great sadhu, you know. And similarly also, one may have, you know, shaved head and a big sikha and so on. We may think he's a very, very advanced, you know. But we have to see more than the just external features. We have to see the internal consciousness. So Prahlad Maharaj, he tells Devahuti what is actually the qualifications of the sadhu. You know, tolerance, merciful, friendly to everyone. He has no enemy. He knows the Shastra, and these different things. We don't see anywhere that, oh, he has to be in this ashram, or he has to have, you know, the external features are not the important thing. But we are sentimental, and we look at the externals. We don't see the real nature of the person. And Prabhupada also talks about you have to hear from the person. How does he speak? And in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks, how can we understand one who is in transcendental consciousness? How does he speak? And what is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? And so these things are explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So when devotees actually start to study the scriptures, then they can be properly guided to understand what is the right association. And our Krishna consciousness movement, we're really trying to encourage the devotees to study the scriptures more. I know here in Mayapur, Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj has, for the past few years, he's been doing the different courses which we teach at the Mayapur Institute. And he's got all the way up, he's finished Bhakti Vedanta, and he's going on to Bhakti Sarvabhauma, and he's encouraging all of his disciples. And he himself has made a mandate that he will not give someone second initiation until they've completed at least Bhakti-Shastri. You see, so in that way, he said, we'll get brahmanas who know something. We don't just want illiterate brahmanas. You know, someone may say, well, I've been initiated 5 years, I want to get Brahmin initiation now. But they never read the book. They don't know any verses of Bhagavad Gita. They hardly ever come to temple, but they want to get Brahmin initiation. And so it's not very good. We want Brahmanas who are actually developing the Brahminical qualification. And Brahmin stage is below Vaishnava. You have to go on from Brahmana to become a Vaishnava. The topmost Brahmanas are Vaishnavas. We actually want people to become Vaishnava. So again, we want to get devotees to understand. You have to read the books, you have to learn the philosophy, and then you can understand what is and who to associate with and where is that association. It's very clear.
Maharaj, there's a hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, Lena Kundani.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I am confusion. Please explain what are the do's and don'ts of fasting?
Well, do's and don'ts of fasting. We're fasting from meat, fish, and eggs. We're fasting from onion and garlic. We're fasting from tea and coffee. And so that kind of fasting, very good, right? Every day. Do that fasting. Fasting is not very important. We don't usually take grains on the Ekadasi. So that is our fasting. No grains and beans. Beans also. Means also no dal and no beans. Green beans also on Ekadasi. The reason is to give allow our organs, our stomach, some rest, because usually we eat too much anyway. So every couple of weeks we have this kind of rest day. We give the organs a break. Don't eat so much. And it's quite good for us to be able to do more chanting in that way. If we spend less time eating, then we have more time to hear and chant. So Srila Prabhupada explains that the real purpose of Ekadasi is to increase our hearing and chanting. So if you're fasting, it's an opportunity to increase your hearing and chanting. We don't worry so much about, just fasting. But what's important is to do more hearing and chanting. Just like we're coming up to Purushottam Mass this year. So Purushottam Mass, it's considered a very inauspicious time for things like marriage. It's not a good time for material things, for business, but it's a very good time for spiritual practice. It's a very good time to do chanting and to study scriptures. So sometimes fortunate people, they'll make a point they'll stop everything for 1 month, Purushottam Mass, and just concentrate on spiritual practice. Another time.
I have another confusion. In the purport 17.7, there's a line, a demoniac person may think that he can force his enemy or other parties to comply with his desire by this method, but sometimes one dies by such fasting.
Yes.
Elaborate it.
Well, people die by fasting. Yeah, it does happen. Sometimes people, they try to fast, and their body just cannot take it. There was a case actually. There was one man in Europe. He was a devotee. and he was overweight, and so I think he was told, you should reduce your weight. You should reduce your weight. So he tried to fast, but he tried to do it in an extreme manner, and his body couldn't take it, and he just died. So sometimes it happens like that. You have to be careful about fasting. So Srila Prabhupada, he gave us very lenient way of practicing Ekadasi. He just said, no grains and beans, you see, and we can take things, vegetables and fruit, salads and stuff like that. Some people have gastric problem, they have to eat. They have to eat. So, okay, take things like that, take vegetables and fruit and grain, but they can avoid the grains.
Now there's another hand up. Gayatri.
Yeah. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna, go ahead.
As you mentioned that a person who eats food offered to God gets rid of all sins, then there is no sins in his list, or he is not going to face any kind of bad result in his life if he eats prasadam in his whole life.
What, is that the question?
A person who eats prasadam in his whole life, then he's gonna get rid of all the sins he do, or he's not gonna face any kind of reactions of that bad sins.
Well, there's more to sinful life than just eating, It's not just only prasadam. The people could be doing a lot of other sinful things, You have to see what are they doing. It's not just only eating. But, if you spend the whole time watching Bollywood movies, or you may be gambling, you may be doing so many nonsense things. So it's not that you can get rid of sin just only by eating prasadam. Certainly prasadam is very nice, very purifying, but you have to also be careful about your other activities as well. All right, you have to understand the philosophy as well. When you want to learn something, you should have some knowledge. You want to understand Lord Krishna. If you want to get free of sin, you have to understand something about the teachings of Krishna consciousness. It's not just only eat prasadam your whole life and you won't have any sin. No, there's a lot of other sinful activities going on. Of course, eating prasadam is very nice, it's very good. People eat prasadam, but I don't know that they can just go back to Godhead just by eating only. So we have to get people to hear. Lord Chaitanya didn't talk much. He didn't mind distributing prasadam to everyone, but he gave more importance to hearing. You want people to actually develop their spiritual life, then they have to hear, and they have to hear regularly, they have to hear carefully, they have to take in what they hear, and they have to understand and apply it. You understand?
Yes, Maharaj.
Thank you.
It seems to me that there is more to life than eating.
Yeah. Okay, so food is a big topic, definitely. You can see. So sometimes actually people say our Krishna conscious diet is not very healthy because we do have a lot of sweets and things, It can be a halava with a lot of butter and then so many fried things. So Srila Prabhupada actually, he had said that devotees, he said we could feast one day a week and the rest of the week we should eat basic food, like it should be staple food like rice, dal, chapati, sabji every day. And in the morning we would have a cereal and we'd have a piece of fruit, and sometimes they would also serve maybe half a dozen chickpeas, few chickpeas, which would give you protein. So that was our basic diet. We had breakfast, so it was just some cereal with some with a piece of orange or something, and then these chickpeas. And then lunchtime we'd have rice and dal and chapatis and sabji. And we wanted more, then there's always more dal and chapatis. And once a week we'd have a feast. And the feast, we'd cook very nicely. There would be sweets and sweet rice and halava and sweet balls and pakora and so many things. But that's only once a week. And we should be careful not to eat too much fried food. If you eat the maha every day, then it's risky. You have to be careful for our health. Srila Prabhupada was very careful. He liked, of course, sweets, but he would take a little piece of the sweet and then he'd keep it, he'd save it, He was very, very controlled, very moderate. And even when he would go on international flights, he would take his tiffin with him. He would bring his food with him. He would never go very far without having his own food. He always had his own cook with him, preparing food. And people, when they saw what Prabhupada was eating, then they were attracted. They saw it looked very nice. Okay, so definitely, we want to be careful about taking too much sweets and too many fried foods. Be careful. Right? So after describing about food, then Lord Krishna goes on to talk about sacrifices. Sacrifices. So here we can see text number 11. Of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to the direction of Scripture as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward is of the nature of goodness. So Prabhupada explains, generally people do a sacrifice, and they offer some sacrifice with some purpose in mind. In other words, they want to get something in return. But Prabhupada says, you should do should be done as a matter of duty. Don't think about what you're going to get. If we're thinking about material benefit, that is not the mode of goodness. So going to the temple and so on, doing the arti and so on, offering flowers, we don't think about what benefit we're going to get. We do it as it's our duty. There's a story about the blind man wanting to go to the temple. And his friend said, well, you're blind, why you want to go? He was saying to the blind man, you don't see anything. Why do you go to the temple? He said, no, I want God to see me. So that is very nice. That's a nice mood to think like that. We go to the temple to be seen, not to see, but to be seen. That the Lord is there in the temple and He sees there. He sees us.
Mara, there's a question in the chat box for you.
Okay. Can someone read it?
Yeah. Here it is written that the prasad should be prepared in a particular way. Can you elaborate it?
Prasad should be prepared in a particular way. Well, definitely, prasadam, I mean, people preparing food, they have to be clean. They have to be pure. Generally, you go into the kitchen, before you go in the kitchen, you should take a bath and put on clean cloth. Some purity should be there. And the people who are cooking for Krishna, generally we like to see brahmanas do that service. Twice initiated. It means people who are fixed and steady in the practice of Krishna consciousness. We don't like people who are not following regulative principles to go into the kitchen to help cook. We often do find people coming along, they say, "Oh, I'll cook for you," but they're not vegetarian usually, they don't chant. And so these kind of people, to go in the kitchen, it's not very good idea, because they have a lot of karma. They don't do any spiritual practice. So the people who are cooking and the people who are offering the food, they have a very important role to play in Krishna consciousness. Because the people who are cooking and people who do the offering, they have to be pure. And when they are pure, then the food, the prasadam, will be very pure and powerful. You'll get the highest quality of prasadam that way. You see, if the devotees themselves are not very pure, then the prasadam itself will also not be so powerful. Even though it's prasadam, it's offered to Krishna, but their own consciousness is going to affect the quality of the prasadam and the offering. It's going to be affected by their own mood. So these are some things which are there in the preparation of prasadam. Just as devotees can be uttama and madhyam and kanista, so prasadam can also be a bit like that. It can be uttama and madhyam and kanista. We want to have the uttama prasadam, right? You want the best prasadam. And to get that, the cooks and the pujaris, they have to be very pure. Just like when Madhavendra Puri went to Ramuna, Madhavendra Puri was going to Jagannath Puri. On his way, he came to Ramuna, and he went to see the deity there, and they were offering the sweet rice, right? They were offering they make special sweet rice there at Ramuna, even today. Anyway, in the times of Madhavendra Puri, they were doing it, and Madhavendra Puri thought it would be nice to get some of the sweet rice to give to his deity. He had just found a deity on the Govardhan hill, and he thought it'd be very nice to cook sweet rice. But so what happened was the deity actually stole one of the parts of the sweet rice which was being offered. When they offer the sweet rice, they offer several parts of sweet rice to the deity. And the deity took one of the parts and hid it. And then that night, the deity came in the dream of the pujari and told the pujari that I've taken a part of sweet rice. I want you to give it to my devotee. So the pujari had to be a very pure devotee, because the Krishna came in his dream, and Krishna told him that I've stolen this pot of sweet. So just imagine the pujari got up from his bed, he took bath, and then he went into the temple room. Just see, he was so strict, pujari. He was really a good devotee. He got up, and because he'd been laying down in bed, he took bath again. In the middle of the night, he took his bath, and he went into the temple, and he found a pot there. And he was surprised, because he had taken all the pots away, but Krishna had stolen one pot. And Krishna told the pujari, give this to my devotee, Madhavendra Puri. So this happens when you have pure devotees. When the pujari and the cooks and so on, when they're really strict, then these kinds of things happen. They don't happen every day, but they do happen. You get very powerful things happening. Krishna can talk, Krishna can walk. The deity is a person. Don't think the deity is just a statue. So we have to understand, it will be if you think the deity is a statue, then he will appear a statue. But to the devotees understand Krishna as a person, and Krishna is eating the offering. So the devotee prepares the offering with a special love and devotion. It goes into the offering. So when that offering is made to the deities, then it's very powerful. And that's why the prasadam is so powerful. And when you get powerful prasadam, then people's consciousness is transformed, and you get more and more devotees. And people come, they want to do more and more devotion. And that's how it is.
And I'm afraid there are more hands up in the air.
Oh, good. Let's go through the questions. Yeah. Well, very nice. Intelligent people will have questions. So let's hear.
Yeah, the intelligent one. Mahabulani, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, accept my humble offenses. I have one more question, that sometimes people say that temple is also in our home. So why should we go to temple for worship? Why you can't worship at home, at your home?
Well, you can. We don't say you cannot. Yeah, you can do it. Prabhupada used to worship at home, but Prabhupada also used to go to temple too, because it's nice, you know, if you have a family particularly, you need to bring your family to the temple. They need to get that experience of coming to the temple and seeing the deities in the temple and being with the other devotees. You know, of course, temple at home is very good. And you know, it's good to do things at home. But sometimes you do need to come to temple. You do need to visit the temple, especially when there's a big festival. You know, it's not quite the same at home. You have a big festival, you don't have, how many, you know, what kind of arrangements do you make at home for big festivals? It's important for devotee, you know, the family to get the opportunity to come to temple and see the deities, or to help in the program for the temple. But you do things at home, you see, you're still attached to your home. The attachment is there, and you're thinking, this is my home. If you're thinking this is Krishna's home, then it's okay. But if you're thinking it's my home, then that's not the right thing, you see. We do need to get detached, and that's why we go to temple and we visit the temple. And you do, you know, it is recommended to go to temple and see the deities in the temple. At the same time, regularly, every day do things at home, but maybe once a week or more. Once a week, yeah, generally is good. Go to temple, see the temple, be with the devotees, hear the lectures, associate, have kirtan, with the devotees. You know, things at home, you don't have quite the same atmosphere, but there's more powerful spiritual atmosphere in the temple. That's why you need to go to temple sometimes. Understand?
Yes, Maharaj. Here is another question from another devotee that can we attend the aarti without taking the bath, like online aarti attending or doing in our home?
Yeah, of course. You can take bath in the holy name. Take bath in the holy name, chant the holy name. You know, some people, they live in countries like Russia and China. It's very cold, you know, and sometimes they don't have hot water. They don't have the opportunity to take the bath. And so they take bath in the holy name. But, you know, we shouldn't just be lazy about it. But certainly you can come to temple. We wash the feet, wash the hands before you go into the temple. Like that, wash the feet, wash the hands, wash the mouth. You shouldn't like that. Then you can go into temple. We don't say everybody has to take a bath, but it's a good idea if you can. If you're going to go on the altar and work with the deities, then you do need to bathe. But if you're just going to visit the temple, then it's not so strict. We don't have so much rule about it.
There are more hands, Maharaj.
Yes?
There are more hands. Kashish Mataji, go ahead. The video is frozen. Ishwar Prabhu, he had a comment. He made a comment. Ishwar Prabhu made a comment.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Kashish Mataji, can hear you.
I think my internet is
Audible?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
You can turn off your video. Turn off your video and we can hear you. I think we lost him, Maharaj.
Yeah. Okay, Ishwar had a comment.
Yeah, Ishwar had a comment. I don't know where is Ishwar now. Ishwar vanished. No, Ishwar is still around.
Hare Krishna.
Ishwar had a comment.
I have a question. Can I ask now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Maharaj. Actually, I have two questions. One is about ghost. Some people deny their existence and some people accept. I want to ask, do they hurt people without any reason, or there is some reason behind it, like past time karmas or anything like that?
Well, there may be. We don't know, but again, generally, the ghost will come some place is not very clean, and then there's more opportunity for the ghost to enter into that kind of place, especially places where people are intoxicated and so on. And then the evil spirits and ghosts, they can enter into these kind of people. The ghost has a subtle body, and because he's only got a subtle body, he cannot satisfy his senses. So ghosts like to enter into some other body. They like to possess another person's body. And the type of person whose body they enter and can take possession of is somebody who's intoxicated, who's not in any kind of sense of control of their body and emotions. And they can do harm. They can do harm.
Yes. And my other question is, yes. Okay.
Your other question?
Sorry, Maharaj. Yes, about demigods. Like in Pakistan or maybe in India, we have heard that, and maybe I have seen some people also, that demigods as Devi or Guru like that enters into the body of a person, and people go to them and ask their material question and material desires for to fulfill that, or like these type of things they ask. So is it possible to enter in a person's body, a demigod enters or a guru or someone enters into the body of the person? Like Devi, I have heard of Devi Mata that come into the person's body, or Hanumanji come into the person's body. I mean, is it possible? I don't think so.
Yeah, often these people are not genuine. It's often, it's a dramatic presentation. It may be possible to some extent, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he could expand into other people's bodies. There were other people. There was this one devotee, Lord Chaitanya would enter into his body, and he could do things, everything, just like he was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya because Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord, so he's everywhere. So he's in every. So he could enter into the body of this other devotee. He was a devotee, and the devotee could tell things, which only Lord Chaitanya knew. So sometimes it would happen, Lord Chaitanya, he could do it. But demigods and so on, they're not the super soul. Jen and Han, they're in one place. So usually these kind of things, it's all pretense, fake. It's not genuine, as you say. We're very doubtful about all these kind of things when people say they're possessed with the spirit of Durga or Hanuman or whatever.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this.
Okay, any other question there?
It's not a comment in the chat box.
Yeah.
It's Ishwar is saying, as here we read that food which are kept for more than 3 hours are considered tamasic. So some devotees offer food to God and he'd eat. Oh, this is the question. So some devotees offered food to God and eat half of it and then put it into the freezer and then eat it in the next day. So it is the right, like the kind of prasadam. So what are your comments on that?
Well, Prabhupada said, prasadam, you could keep it. It's not the most healthy thing to do, but because it's prasadam, it's spiritual, so you can do that. But of course, everything according to time and circumstances. He must have some good reason why he puts it in the fridge. He only eats half of it. It would be nicer to distribute. When you offer prasadam, it should be distributed. We don't just cook for ourselves, but we should cook and we should distribute to others. That's the proper culture. That you cook some food and offer to Krishna, and then you distribute the prasadam. You invite people. Prasadam is available. Please come and take some prasadam. But to put it in the fridge and keep it till tomorrow, oh my goodness, yeah, you can do it, but it's not the highest standards, If you want to do like that, I think it's a bit miserly to do like that, Why don't you distribute the prasadam? You know you're only going to eat half, so first distribute half and then take the other half. That will be much nicer. Ishwara Prabhu, I hope that's clear.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. All right, so we're hearing about sacrifice. Sacrifice done for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, you should know to be in the mode of passion. So sacrifice, just like our sacrifice, yagya, we do sankirtan yagya. So if we do, someone may do sankirtan for some material benefit, or somebody may be doing sankirtan just for the sake of pride. Oh, I want people to see I'm doing sankirtan. I want people to know how religious I am. So, of course, that's not the right consciousness. The consciousness should be that we're doing it for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. Or you could say we're doing it as a sense of duty, with no desire for a reward. Right? And we're doing it because it's the direction of Scripture that we're encouraged to perform Sankirtan. This is Kali Yuga Dharma, Hari Nam Sankirtan. So it's done, it's according to Shastra, and it's for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. And then text 13 is another important verse, again mentioning about doing things without regard for the direction of the Scripture. So if we don't follow Scriptures, then we'll get a problem. So if we do a sacrifice which is not according to Scriptures, and if we do it without distribution of prasadam, and without chanting Vedic hymns, and without giving charity to the priests, and without faith, then it's considered to be in the mode of ignorance. So even though you're doing the yagya, but if you don't do these different things, then it's a mode of ignorance. So distribution of prasadam, very important, you see. When we do any program, when we have a festival, there has to be some kind of prasadam. And Srila Prabhupada, in the beginning, when he first went to the USA, he couldn't always cook. And sometimes he would just take one apple and he would cut it into pieces and he'd give everyone a piece of apple. And in this way, this would be the prasadam. But some kind of prasadam, something had to be there. There should be distribution of I know in London, when we would do a program, public program, Prabhupada would want to see what prasadam we are distributing. He'd say, let me see, bring a plate for me, I want to see what you're serving to the public. And he would comment what he thought, if he liked it or not. So everything must be done in very proper manner, especially sacrifice. We're talking about sacrifice. So yagna, you're doing a yagya, you may be doing a Griha Pravesh yagya or some just some Agnihotri yagya, maybe Diksha yagya, like that. There must be all these different things that should be done according to the Scripture. There must be prasadam. And when Prabhupada would give a lecture here in Calcutta, in the evening, he'd give a lecture. We had to give out some kind of, we'd go and buy sandesh from a sweet shop and distribute sandesh to everyone, because we were not so equipped to be able to cook a big meal for everyone. So we just bought some sweets. We bought some sandesh from the Bengali sweet shop and distributed some sandesh to everyone. And Prabhupada said, okay. So some kind of prasadam. And then also chanting of Vedic hymns. We're supposed to recite different. And then remuneration to the priests. Some Brahmanas come and they do something, you have to give them something. And most important, faith. We must also have faith. If we don't have faith in the yajna, then it's in the mode of ignorance. All right?
Maharaj, I've got a very pertinent question here. This is like based on the same verse, 17:13. We're talking about like sacrifice, like any yajna without prasadam, without remuneration to the priest, certainly without faith. Here, as so far as the remuneration to the priest is concerned, say for example, a program like this one, like education program like Bhakti-Shastri, where we are certainly there are facilitators, there are teachers who are obviously imparting knowledge, and there are students who are receiving this knowledge. What should be the mode of, I would say, mode of exchange or reciprocation from the students? I mean, what is the duty of the students? I'm asking this question because the culture of Gurukul or the culture of, Dakshina is unheard in Pakistan. They are not subjected to that culture. I mean, this is the very first time. So the only thing that they are accustomed to is the secular education system, where we basically give a fees and take education, which is like more very transactional. So as opposed to that, please comment on this one.
Well, I remember when I was initiated, I was initiated in London. It was I was 21 or 21. I just graduated from university, and I took a job, and I was working for a few months only before I joined the Krishna consciousness movement. So when I joined, I gave whatever money I had given it to the temple. They had a temple in London. We had a small place. We were renting a place, and we had Radha Landanishwara. And I knew that they didn't have much money, so I gave whatever money I had to the temple. And then after some time, Prabhupada came. Some months later, Prabhupada came, and we were initiated. Then after the initiation ceremony, that evening, Prabhupada called in the temple president. And he said to the temple president, he said, I initiated about 12 of your men here today. And he said, none of them gave me any donation. Prabhupada told the temple president. And the temple president said to Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, they don't have any money. He said, they don't have any money. And Prabhupada laughed. He said, just see this country, England, useless. He said, anyway, the next day we went on Sankirtan, and whatever we collected in book distribution, we gave it to Prabhupada as Guru Dakshin. But it was, I didn't know that we were supposed to give something. Nobody had told me. And I said, as you say, I didn't know this culture about giving donations or anything. It never been taught to me. And in England, people, they didn't have that kind of thing. I never give any money or anything to any teacher or anything. It was unheard of. But generally, that is this. Now, like when we teach at Mayapur Institute and things like that, I don't I don't expect to get donations for teaching, you know, in Mayapur Institute, because the students are already, you know, they pay money for the course, you know. I mean, I don't think they should be giving money to the teachers also. And I certainly don't feel comfortable to take money from the people when I'm teaching here in Bhaktivedanta Institute. It's something which we do out of love, that we want. We're happy. It's our business, you know. It's our pleasure to discuss the philosophy and to teach the philosophy with devotees and with people who have an interest in Krishna consciousness. And it's our greatest pleasure. And there's no question of feeling that, oh, you have to give some money or some contribution for the teacher. And there's other things you can give, just like things like you can give the guru a Brahmin thread, you can give him a bead bag, you can do things like that. I think that's nice, you know. And I remember also we'd make some Brahmin threads and give them to Prabhupada. You know, there's a list of different things, and I read it in one of Prabhupada's letters just the other day, and somebody had asked him about what gifts they could give to and Prabhupada mentioned in the scriptures different things which you can give the guru. You can give some clothes, or you can give some, you know, a scarf or something. One devotee, I remember Vishal, there's this one devotee, he brought a watch for Prabhupada, and he gave the watch to Prabhupada because he knew he could get Prabhupada's watch, because if somebody gave Prabhupada a watch, he said, here, you take my watch, and he would take the new watch, you see? And like that, he would, and then like that, you know, the devotee would be happy to get Prabhupada's watch. So they buy something with the intention that the Prabhupada will give me his old one, you know. So some people would do like that. But that's a little bit motivated. But it's nice. So, yeah, giving some charity, giving some donation to the you know, it doesn't have to be money anyway. That's definitely true, a fact, you know. Just some simple thing. You give some prasadam, you may cook some sweet or something, offer it to the guru. Very nice. Not that you have to give all the time money. Okay. Any other questions? This about sacrifice in the mode of ignorance? Everybody okay? Prabhupada says sometimes people worship demigods just to make money and then spend the money for recreation, ignoring the scriptural injunctions. Such ceremonial shows of religiosity are not accepted as genuine. They are all in the mode of darkness. They produce a demoniac mentality and do not benefit human society. All right? How are we doing here? Have we got time to go on to the next one? The next one's very important. Austerity. Austerity. We're hearing about the austerity of the body. There's austerity of the body, austerity of the mind, and austerity of words. Right? So first here, austerity of the body. And that consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. So This is the austerity of the body. We should worship the Supreme Lord, and we have to respect, at least offer some respect to brahmanas, the guru, and superiors. I heard this story. There was this one devotee, Brahmananda. He was a very big, strong-built American man, and he become a devotee. So his mother came to visit the temple. Actually, there's two brothers, Gargamuni and Brahmananda. Gargamuni is still there. He lives in Vrindavan. And Brahmananda was a big brother, and he was bigger and stronger than Gargamuni. Gargamuni is not small. Anyway, Brahmananda, he was a champion wrestler when he was a student. He used to wrestle. He was champion. And his mother came to visit Prabhupada. And when his mother came to visit Prabhupada, Prabhupada said to Brahmananda, "Bow down to your mother." And Brahmananda had to get down on his knees and bow down to his mother. And so Prabhupada taught devotees like that you have to respect, you have to show respect for your father and mother. So bowing down. Brahmananda also, he was such a big guy, he said to Prabhupada one time, he said, Prabhupada, he said, sometimes he said, I don't feel like bowing down to you. Prabhupada's the guru, and Brahmananda said to Prabhupada, sometimes I don't feel like bowing down to you. But Prabhupada said to him, do it anyway. So even you don't feel like doing it, you do it anyway, because it's a duty, it's etiquette. Right? And so because he's so big, it's not so easy for him to get down on all the time. But anyway, he would do it. He was very devoted to Prabhupada. He loved Prabhupada. Brahmananda Prabhu Ki Jai. All right. So worshipping the Lord like that. Okay. We'll go on tomorrow night because there's a lot of points, important things here to be understood, and we need to go through it properly. Are there any hands up? Any more questions before we finish?
Not as of now, Maharaj.
No more hands up, huh?
Not as of now, Maharaj.
Okay. Okay, so you can think over what we've been covering, and you note down your questions, and tomorrow night we'll be back, and I want to hear if you have any more questions about these things, because this is very important. Understand these things clearly, right? Austerity of the body, austerity and cleanliness. Cleanliness is internal and external. So keeping everything neat and clean, very important for us, and keeping our heart also clean by chanting the holy name. And then simplicity, not being too complicated, be straightforward. Don't lie and cheat, don't try to deceive people, be honest. And celibacy, also very important for men and women. And household life, married people, they can also practice control according to religious principles. And then non-violence. Non-violence means don't get angry unnecessary. Control your anger. Remember, 3 gates to hell. And so anger, if you're becoming violent to others, then it's not very good. We'll go into the mode of ignorance. We'll go into hell. So we must avoid unnecessary, this tendency to become angry, to scream and shout and lose your temper. You must be peaceful and control the mind. So that's non-violence. All right? So these are all different aspects of austerity of the body. We have to do austerity, right? There's the austerities. Body, mind, and words also. We'll hear tomorrow night. All right, so we'll stop here tonight. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada.
Jai. We thank you, Maharaj. His Holiness Bhakti Vigna Vinashi Narasimha Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai. Jai.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you, Hare.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare. Log in.